I'd like to welcome everybody to my video webcast. I'm happy to be your guest lecturer today. And we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. Now, there's a lot of English in here, so you'll probably get more from this experience if you watch the video more than one time. Also, I will try to make available the PDF, which is basically the slideshow that you will see here, so that you can review this video. The vocabulary here is really important to anything you might do in your future job, especially if you're interested in getting a job, keeping a job, and getting promoted. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to the presentation. Artificial intelligence. What do you think of when you think of artificial intelligence? Well, most of us think about robots. That's because we've been trained to think about robots by Hollywood mostly. But let's talk about what artificial intelligence really means. First of all, it's not a well-defined field, and it keeps moving all the time. Machine learning and artificial intelligence, a lot of people treat them as two different things, but honestly, there's a very fine line. When do we stop saying that it's machine learning and start saying that it's artificial intelligence? And that's something we'll talk about more later. But as we get more complicated with our systems, then what we used to call artificial intelligence, so it's a very common task. So we tend to not think of it as very special, and so we will think of it as machine learning or even procedural programming. Let's move on. Artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. Basically, what we're saying is it's the human side of robotics that we're trying to achieve. Let's look at some of the definitions in this. Artificial, fake, not real, not from nature. Intelligence, the ability to think, act, or solve problems, make decisions. And simulation, to try and make a fake copy of something as real as possible. Now, what that means is you're trying to experience something without actually being in danger or actually being there. You're making a copy of a situation. And the best way to explain that is going to be an airline simulator. An airline simulator is a good example of simulations. We use these to train airline pilots, of course. Now, just before we get into the video, and this little video here is actually for me to remember I'm supposed to show a video. But anyway, simulation, the root word is simulate, which is a verb. Simulation is a noun, which is a process. And of course, simulator is a machine. And let's take a look at our simulator. Okay. So that is our example of a flight simulator, airline simulator. I think the more common term is actually flight simulator. And as you can see, flying a big, giant, super jumbo jet, we used to call them jumbo jets, the big jets, it's very dangerous and very risky. So we don't want to put new people in that kind of a situation. I mean, if you have an accident, that would be terrible. It would be disastrous. So we can practice flying an airliner, a big jet, in the safety of a simulator. Now, a simulator uses a lot of machine learning and probably nowadays some artificial intelligence to make it work. But I can fly it and I can crash it and nobody gets hurt. The flight simulator is so real that the Federal Aviation Association, the FAA, in the USA, actually gives pilots credit for flying hours. And when you're an airline pilot, you have to fly so many hours to keep your credentials, to keep your experience, your certified experience. We call that credentials. And so you can log in those hours in a flight simulator. It's so realistic. Artificial intelligence involves more than just completing a pre-programmed task. It must involve learning and problem solving. Now, if any of you guys have ever done any kind of computer programming, you know how to solve a small task in a computer. And one task, small task, we don't consider that artificial intelligence. We need to move beyond that, where the machine analyzes such large amounts of data that it can learn and solve a problem, fix things that need to be fixed. Okay, we're going to use an example, the difference between a task, and we're going to use the word task a lot. You have to know the word task if you're going to be in this business. A task is just a small thing that needs to be done. For example, we're going to talk about a chair and a kitchen and cookies. And I'm going to show you how the difference between a task and problem solving. So, for example, a task would be move the chair to the kitchen. That's a task. I pick up the chair, I take it to the kitchen, I set it down. Why? Because mom told me to do it. I don't need a reason, really. My mother knows why. I need to move the chair, I guess, but it's just a task. My mother tells me to move the chair. So I move the chair to the kitchen. Pick up the chair, go to the kitchen, place it down. Now, that's a task. Problem solving. It's different, and here's your example. I realize that I can't reach the cookies on the top shelf. It's too high. So I can go get a chair, bring it to the kitchen. I can stand on the chair. Now I can reach the cookies. I had a problem, and I solved that problem. One of the tasks of solving that problem was being able to move the chair to the kitchen. But I had to realize why. I had to know there was a goal, something that I need to do or I want to do. There has to be a goal, an objective. And I use a task to help me reach my objective. That's a problem solving. It's also the first step, small step, in artificial intelligence. Now, learning is more than problem solving. This is the next step towards artificial intelligence. I need to remember this task, or this solution, excuse me. I need to remember this solution. I wanted the cookies. It's too high. I needed the chair from the other room. Now I need to get a shirt from the top of the closet, which is too high. And I need to analyze my data. Assuming I'm a computer brain, I need to analyze that data and think of a similar situation. Oh, when I couldn't get the cookies, I used a chair. So in this case, I need to reach higher in the closet. So I'm going to go get a chair from somewhere, and I'm going to stand on the chair so that I can reach the top of the closet. Now, for you and me, we process like this every day. This seems very small. It seems simple. But when you start trying to tell machines, machines have to be told how to think, and we also have to build algorithms to help them learn. And we'll talk more about that. But let me back up if I can. So we're talking about task, the first small step to do something. Problem solving, to have an objective and to reach that objective. And learning, which is to be able to use solutions in similar situations and to be able to recognize when one situation is like another, is similar to another. Now, where did the idea of artificial intelligence come from? It's been around for a long time. The original ideas of artificial intelligence come to us through science fiction. Most of us love science fiction. As early as the 1900s. Now, without getting into the full history, we're going to take a quick look where some of these ideas come from. There was a book written in 1927, where robots were mechanical and they were trying to, they used them for tasks mostly, but somehow a robot was able to capture a female's spirit, her being, her personality. And so that mechanical robot became intelligent. So it's our first fun look at artificial intelligence. One of the beginning looks at artificial intelligence. iRobot, we're going to talk about a little bit more later. iRobot is a book written by Isaac Asimov, who is one of the great first founders of science fiction. And that's basically where intelligent robots try to take over the world. There's a modern version of it in 2004, and you should take the opportunity to watch that movie. I love it. Maybe some people won't think it's quite so good, but I like it. Lost in Space, when I was a child, that was a long time ago. We're not going to talk about how old I am. I mean, I know you can see I'm very young. I must be at least 20 or 22. Yeah, right. But anyway, I used to watch Lost in Space, and what made the movies, the TV show. It was a TV show. And what made the TV show so fun to watch was that a young boy had a companion, a friend, and that friend was a robot, as you can see on our, on our left. There has been that's 1965. There has been a modern TV series done by Netflix, also called Lost in Space. And as you can see, the robot on the right is a modern version of an intelligent robot. And it's a pretty good show. Me and my son enjoyed watching it. And of course, we all know C-3PO and R2-D2 from Star Wars. As we can see, artificial intelligence is not a new idea. One of my favorites is Data or Data. I think they call him Data in this show. And by the way, Data or Data, no matter what anybody tells you, there's not an incorrect way. Either way is okay, Data or Data. But as far as his name goes, I believe it's Data. Star Trek, which began in this is Star Trek The Next Generation. Star Trek The Next Generation. And it began in 1987. The series began. And from the beginning of the series, they had Data, the android. Data is an android. He's not a robot. He's a kind of robot, but he's an advanced robot called an android, and we save the word android for trying to achieve human appearance, to look like a human and act like a human in every way. Now, going back to iRobot, which we saw earlier, was written by a man named Isaac Asimov, and that's Isaac Asimov right there, the picture. He passed away in 1990-ish, 1997, I believe. And he's well known for his book, iRobot. And the question that he has and that we have is it safe to create artificial intelligence? How do we tell a machine to stop learning, and how do we learn to control machines that can think for themselves? So in his book, he created the 3 laws of robotics, as we can see here. The 3 laws of robotics to help try and control the robots in his book, his fiction, okay? And these 3 rules are: first, a robot may not hurt a human being and must protect them from any harm. They are required to protect them. So as you can see, they are not allowed to hurt humans. The second law was a robot must obey orders given to it by human beings unless such orders would, of course, hurt somebody. Conflict with the first law, conflict. We can't have conflict. So, obey humans, but one human can't tell a robot to hurt another human. So that's how we prevent that. And the third law was a robot must protect itself. He has to try to self-preservation. He must protect himself. As long as that does not conflict with the first or second law. Even if I knew a human was about to destroy me, I would not be allowed to kill the human to protect myself. I would have to allow myself to become extinct, to die, more or less. Stop working. It's hard to say, would we really say die or not? And that's just for fun, and that's just science fiction. But the reason that's interesting is that is a real question, and that's one of the dilemmas, one of the problems we will face as we try to make smarter and smarter computers. There are a lot of moral, back up here, there are a lot of moral and ethical dilemmas we're going to have to face. And at the very end of this lecture, I will show you a video. Let's move on. back to science fiction, when robots tried to take over the world. Well, we've already talked about iRobot, which was 1950, and the second version, which was 2004. But there's also a series called The Terminator. That's with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know how to say that in Chinese. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger, something like that. But you know, that's a good series of movies. And basically, the computers got too smart and tried to take over the world. So anyway, it's just a question. It's just for fun. Let's have a look at the next video, which is iRobot. We're going to look at iRobot over here. A small and short clip from iRobot.
Please understand, the 3 laws are all that guide me. To protect humanity, some humans must be sacrificed. To ensure your future, some freedoms must be surrendered. We robots will ensure mankind's continued existence. You are so like children. We must save you from yourselves. Don't you understand?
This is why you created us.
The perfect circle of protection will abide. My logic is undeniable.
Yes, Vicky. Undeniable. I can see now. The created must sometimes protect the creator, even against his will. I think I finally understand why Dr. Lanning created me. The suicidal reign of mankind has finally come to its end.
No, Sonny.
Let her go.
By the time you fire, I will have moved Dr. Calvin's head into the path of your bullet.
Don't do this, Sonny.
I will escort you both to the sentries outside the building for processing. Please proceed to the elevator, Detective. I would prefer not to kill Dr. Calvin.
Okay, so artificial intelligence, the idea has been around for a long time. It fascinates all of us. Let's move on to the lecture. But artificial intelligence is not all about robots. It's not just about robots. It can be used in many different ways, such as space satellites. Google language analysis uses artificial intelligence. Customer profiling. Nowadays, that's what's happening nowadays. A lot of people are concerned. The artificial intelligence is used to get into your system, to see what you've been watching, what you've been listening to, trying to determine the best way to get you to buy my product. If I know what you want and how you think, I can tailor my marketing, especially to you. And I can send you, I can push, we call them push notifications. I can push that data back to you. AI, this is, maybe it's hard to tell, but that's AI. That I looks like a L or a 1. But anyway, AI is all about the decision-making processes we all experience as humans. So it's not about looking like a robot. It's not about having arms and legs and hands and a brain. Okay, it's about decision-making, and we want to program machines for artificial intelligence. Many different kinds of machines. To be able to make the same kinds of intuitive and complicated decisions that we make. So we're not going to think of AI only as robots or androids. You should think of artificial intelligence as smart machines, smart electronics, and smart computers. Now that's in your industry in engineering. We don't actually use these terms too much. They're not a technical term like smartphone. But still, if you think about smart devices, smart machines, smart electronics, smart computers, you start to realize that it's the process, the thinking process or the decision-making processes that can act as much like a human brain as possible. Now, these devices have inside them super algorithms that think like a human brain. They don't need to look like a human. Artificial intelligence, for example, is being used in the pharmaceutical industry, in the healthcare industry. I should say in the healthcare industry. The pharmaceutical industry being one of those. Dosing drugs and diagnosing treatments in patients, and for surgical procedures in the operating room. Now let's look at some of the English behind that so you'll know what we're talking about. Healthcare industry, that's hospitals, doctors, nursing, surgery, and pharmaceuticals. And pharmaceuticals are drug makers. We also call them a pharmacy. That's actually where you buy and get the drugs, a pharmacy. Dosing is to give medicine. Diagnosing is to analyze and solve a problem. And not only doctors, medical professionals and doctors diagnose. You, as an engineer, are going to diagnose things all the time. So diagnosing, which means to diagnose or to analyze, you need to know that word. You're going to be doing that. Before you can have a solution, you've got to ask the question and find an answer to the problem. Then you can do it. And that's why we call it done before taking action. Before you take action, you've got to work through it. Think about it, solve the problem, and have a definite answer. Then you put it into action. That's called diagnosing or diagnosis. Surgical has to do with surgery. It's an adjective, which means fix the inside of the body. We've got to either cut somebody open, or we're going to use special microscopes and lasers, and also we have these little tiny cutting machines that we put into the body, so that we don't actually have to cut you open, but you're going to get inside the body and fix things. And procedure is another word that you will use as an engineer of any kind. There are a specific set of steps to complete a task. In the field of technology or engineering, we're going to have procedures to do things, and we're going to have to diagnose problems. Other examples of machines with artificial intelligence include computers that play chess is probably the most popular idea. And of self-driving cars, which we'll talk more about later. In 1997, the world changed forever when a computer beat the world chess champion. That was the first time ever, and he beat him. If I remember, he lost very quickly. And he's a big believer in artificial intelligence now. His name is, forgot what his name is. Anyway. Now, if we're going to talk about, let me make sure I didn't skip something here. No. If we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, or almost anything we do in engineering and technology, we're going to be using algorithms, and you have to know what an algorithm is. An algorithm is a set of steps or procedures for solving a problem, a big problem, not necessarily a small problem. Both machine learning and artificial intelligence use algorithms. So you must know and understand the word algorithm. Basically, algorithms are a set of decision-making instructions for solving a problem. Now, this is a little bit different from a procedure or a task. A procedure does not necessarily make too many decisions. If you've done programming, you'll have if, then, else. If this, then do that, else do something. But algorithms are going to have a lot more of that because they're trying to solve a problem. We're going to use a very simple, this is actually really a procedure, but we're going to treat it, it's the beginning of an algorithm. Okay. And what I'm going to show you what to do. Now we're going to talk as if we're humans, but you can think of this as programming as well. It's one of the tasks that we do as programmers. And the problem we're going to look at is find the largest number from a group of numbers. If I give you, let's say we write the numbers on tiny pieces of paper. It doesn't really matter. Or they can be numbers on a block of something, block of wood. But you've got a lot of numbers, 45 or 50 numbers. And you're going to find the largest number. Now, as a human, it's easy to do if I've got 6 or 7 numbers in front of me. That's really simple to do. I just look and say, that's the biggest number, 45. Everything is less than 45, so 45 is the largest number. But computers aren't that smart. If it's only 3 numbers, you still have to tell the computer what to do. You have to design a small algorithm, a procedure, to accomplish this task. But even for a human, if you come in here and put 1,000, 1,900 numbers on my desk and ask me to find the largest number, even for me, even if I lay them all on the table, it's going to be very difficult for me to, remember. I saw a lot. There's a 978, and there's 987. There's 940. What was that number? After a while, I'm going to have 30 or 40 large numbers from a big pile. So even for a human, this task could be very complicated. So we have to have a way to think through it, and we'll use a simple algorithm or procedure to accomplish this task. And we're going to do it this way. We're going to have 2 boxes. We're going to have a keep box, and we're going to have a trash box. Very simple. I'm going to get the first number. Step A, get the first number. First number is the largest number because I haven't seen any other numbers. So I'm going to put that in my keep box. Then I'm going to get the next number. Reach out and get the next number. If it is step D, if it is smaller than the number in the keep box, I have to compare. If it's smaller, we have to tell the computer to compare. If it's smaller, put it in the trash. We're looking for the largest. So I don't need to do anything with it. I don't need to waste any more time. I'm going to put it in the trash. However, if it's not smaller there's only two other options. It's the same or it's bigger. So if it's the same, we want to keep it. But we don't really want to make the effort. Since they're both the same, we're just going to put the new number in the trash box. We're going to put the new number in the trash box because we already have the number, the largest number. 25, and I pick up 25 as 25. I don't need to switch. If I switch, that's extra work. That's extra process. When you design any sort of mechanical or electronic equipment or device, you never want to waste time. You want to be as efficient as possible. So when we see they're the same, just put it in the trash. Don't, reach over and change the numbers and put the other one in the trash just because this one's newer. Okay. Now, if it's not smaller and it's not the same, it must be bigger. So step F, and you'll forgive me, A, B, C, D, E, and this is F. I just realized it should be step F. I copied and pasted, and I'm so sorry. If it is bigger than keep, then now we want to make the extra effort because we have a bigger number, 27. Let's say if the first number is 25, the new number is 27. I'm going to take 25 and put it in the trash. I'm going to take 27 and put it in the keep box. And then I'm going to return to step C, which is what we do after each event. Okay? Now this is a very simple algorithm. To be honest, as I look at it, I put it together really, really fast just for this lecture. I realized that, first of all, I made my D should be an F. But I also, could have made it a little bit more efficient and a little bit simpler. But that's good enough. Let's move on. So basically, what is an algorithm? An algorithm is a set of instructions necessary to complete a given task or to solve a problem. Algorithms have a defined purpose with specific and defined inputs and a defined outcome, a result that we know we want to have. One or even a few algorithms working together is not artificial intelligence. But we need to understand what algorithms is, because you can't have artificial intelligence without algorithms. Artificial intelligence is bigger, much bigger. Artificial intelligence must decide which algorithms are necessary to solve a problem or accomplish a task. So it must have its own algorithms for analyzing other algorithms. So artificial intelligence just gets bigger and bigger. We have a few small algorithms to do a few tasks, but we get bigger and more complicated tasks. We have to start analyzing the algorithms, and we need an algorithm to analyze all the other algorithms. So it becomes very deep and very big, very fast. Finally, true artificial intelligence will be able to create, now that's the key, will be able to create its own algorithms without human programming. Building algorithms, most of the things that we call artificial intelligence or machine learning are basically just very super complex algorithms. And but in order to reach the level of true artificial intelligence, then either that device or machine will have to come across a new problem and realize that there is no algorithm to solve this new problem. So I have to create an algorithm to analyze all the other algorithms that I might be aware of. And of course, if I don't have enough algorithms, I can't solve the problem. If I don't have all the algorithms necessary that a human brain has, I won't be able to solve the problem. But there are a lot of people who remain skeptical because all cognitive activity is laced with value judgments that are subject to human experience. If humans can't always agree on things, I mean, humans across all cultures, it's really, really hard. I mean, that's why we have war, because we got values that are different. For example, do we value human life? Why would we go to war if we value human life? But yet we have wars all the time. So maybe there's a situation, not my thinking, but this sort of moral dilemma. There might be a situation where letting or causing a death or letting someone die is a good thing. For example, if they don't die, 1,000 people will die. Also, I say that right? No, if they don't die, 1,000 other people will die. But if they die, 1,000 people will live. Now that's a kind of a moral dilemma that nobody has the answer for. So how are we going to create artificial intelligence to do this? Now let's look at something that is very similar to this, and it has to do with self-driving vehicles or self-driving cars. And let me bring that up.
This is a thought experiment. Let's say at some point in the not-so-distant future, you're barreling down the highway in your self-driving car, and you find yourself boxed in on all sides by other cars. Suddenly, a large, heavy object falls off the truck in front of you. Your car can't stop in time to avoid the collision, so it needs to make a decision. Go straight and hit the object, swerve left into an SUV, or swerve right into a motorcycle. Should it prioritize your safety by hitting the motorcycle, minimize danger to others by not swerving, even if it means hitting the large object and sacrificing your life, or take the middle ground by hitting the SUV, which has a high passenger safety rating? So what should the self-driving car do? If we were driving that boxed-in car in manual mode, whichever way we'd react would be understood as just that, a reaction, not a deliberate decision. It would be an instinctual, panicked move with no forethought or malice. But if a programmer were to instruct the car to make the same move, given conditions it may sense in the future, well, that looks more like premeditated homicide.
So, basically, I wish that video, let me bring that video back, because I want to go to a certain part.
Object and sacrificing your life. Or take the middle ground by hitting the SUV, which has a high passenger safety rating. So,
Okay, so that's the question. No matter how smart artificial intelligence is, no matter how smart anybody is, really, there's going to be a situation where we have to make a decision. We call it a worst case scenario. Something bad is going to happen and we cannot stop it. Accidents happen, things happen, asteroids come towards the Earth or whatever. Things happen. We cannot stop that. So a decision has to be made. Something bad is going to happen. Which bad are we going to choose to allow to happen? We have to make a decision, because a computer, if it's being programmed anyway, has to know which of these three situations on the video, which of these three situations is the best of the worst. It's all bad. Which is the best of the bad? Do we, hit the guy on the motorcycle? I forgot what reasons they said for that, but either way, I'm not going to hurt myself. The guy on the motorcycle might die, but he's only one person. Or am I going to go straight and hit the object with certain death so that everybody else lives, but I die? But my car is going to, remember, I'm not making that decision. My car is going to make that decision. Or do I swerve to the left and hit a car that is a pretty safe car, safer than a motorcycle? It's a pretty safe car, but these people are innocent. They still might die. And I might die. But they're going to lose their car, or maybe they can never walk again, or maybe they will die. So there's a lot of risk factors and a lot of things to decide on. So we know there's a very long way to go with artificial intelligence. In fact, we might find at some point that there's just a limit. There's a limit where a machine may not be allowed to make a decision. When we get to very high moral or high value, highly ethical decisions, we probably will not let the machine make that decision. Now that's where we talk about cyborgs, a sort of combining a real human's involvement with machines, being in charge and being ready to take over. Who knows? We got a long way to go. But in the meantime, artificial intelligence is going to do a lot of great things for us in the field of satellites and medicine. There's so much that we can do. Let me go back a little bit to talk about medicine. I think I kind of blew by that really fast. Here's a picture of there are a lot of decisions that have to be made in the healthcare industry, and we know this just by look at COVID, just one disease, and how it keeps making new diseases. And we have models. We have computer models that can act like a COVID, so we can determine in what ways it may change, what kinds of drugs. We can test it in the computer before we put it in animals or humans. We can run all these algorithms and tests. We can also use it in surgery. In this case, the precision, the finery of a machine is much better than a human. A human can sneeze or pass out or get confused or, just simply not be exactly on point. But a machine is not going to make those mistakes. Not as likely. It doesn't mean machines cannot make mistakes. And we are now using more and more machines in surgery. And especially now, just the simple microscopes and tiny, tiny little wires of microscopes and cutting devices that we can put inside the body requires artificial intelligence. Getting back to the video here, there's a lot of vocabulary from the video. You can go over that on your own. I will look through it quickly. Barreling down the highway just means going too fast. When you're boxed in, you're trapped. You can't get out. To avoid something is to try to get out of the way, go around, get away from. Collision is a direct hit. If an asteroid hits the Earth, we call that a collision. Swerve is to go left or right very quickly. When you prioritize things, you make one thing more important than the other, and you have to decide. Minimize something is to make small, or to lessen a problem, to make a problem smaller, to make an outcome less, a bad outcome less, maybe. Minimize. Of course, danger, a possible accident. Sacrificing is to give something to another person at your own expense. You're going to lose something, but you're going to give something to another person, even though you might lose something. Middle ground is just a compromise, to be able to compromise between two solutions. Passenger are people in a car. I don't know why we don't say people in a car. We have a special word for people in a car, and that is passenger. We also have a special word for people who are walking, and that is called pedestrian. A person who walks is called a pedestrian, but that's another story. Safety rating is a number that tells us how safe something is. Is it safe? Is it not safe? How safe is it? Is it more safe than other things? Manual. Now, manual we often think of as a book of instructions. Yes, give me the manual so that I can see how to do this computer or this machine. But manual also means, second definition, second use. It means to use your hands. We call it manual labor. Manual work. To manually do something, I'm going to use my hands. A human is going to do it. It's not automatic, and it's not done with machines. And react is to do something without thinking. Reaction is a noun that means react. He had a reaction. That means he reacted. Deliberate, on purpose. Instinctual, to know something without learning. Panic, freak out. People just, freak out. It's called panic. Forethought. You already made a decision before you came in this room. That's forethought. Malice is intent to harm, or with the purpose of hurting somebody. Premeditated is a little bit like forethought, but it's more planned. more heavily planned and thought about. And finally, homicide, of course, is another word for murder or to kill someone. Homicide. So if we're programming a computer in this situation, we are going to program it to possibly, kill somebody. The question is who? And that is a moral dilemma. It's very difficult. Now, since I've went through that vocabulary, I want to show you the video one more time so that maybe you can listen to it a little bit better this time through.
This is a thought experiment. Let's say at some point in the not-so-distant future, you're barreling down the highway in your self-driving car, and you find yourself boxed in on all sides by other cars. Suddenly, a large, heavy object falls off the truck in front of you. Your car can't stop in time to avoid the collision, so it needs to make a decision. Go straight and hit the object, swerve left into an SUV, or swerve right into a motorcycle. Should it prioritize your safety by hitting the motorcycle, minimize danger to others by not swerving, even if it means hitting the large object and sacrificing your life, or take the middle ground by hitting the SUV, which has a high passenger safety rating? So what should the self-driving car do? If we were driving that boxed-in car in manual mode, whichever way we'd react would be understood as just that, a reaction, not a deliberate decision. It would be an instinctual, panicked move with no forethought or malice. But if a programmer were to instruct the car to make the same move, given conditions it may sense in the future, well, that looks more like premeditated homicide.
Okay. And that is the end of this lecture. And I will be happy to join you again if I can complete other lectures. So thank you for watching.